everybody. Welcome to the XP Billionaires podcast, the RPG podcast you can listen to during the tedious grinding that's necessary in all RPGs. I am Ray Thegrum. I am joined by Sky Knight and the Mel Zerker, my two most wonderful hosts, and we're going to say hello to them right now. Sky, how are you? What's up?
Well, I'm okay, all things considered. I've had sugar and I was able to do a little bit of gaming today, so that's not too bad. I mean, I've thrown out my shoulder badly, so unfortunately the gaming has been fairly light over the last little while. But I was able to play a bit today without it hurting too badly, so that was nice.
That's good. It's nice that you're getting back into it. And that little bit of extra stretching I'm sure never hurts. So
Well, it can hurt, but I didn't go for too long, so that's the important bit. Everything in moderation, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Unless it's food.
Um
What kind of food?
See, that's the question that needs to be asked.
Because, I'll moderate on salads if you want me to moderate on salads.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I would do the same.
Only for you, though.
Well, I appreciate that. That actually makes me feel good. All right, Mel, how are you doing today? You seem to be in good spirits.
I'm all right. I've been sleeping my days away and staying up late playing video games. So, I mean, who can question that in this strange world we live in?
I mean, that's true. For those of you who aren't currently in a lockdown right now, we all live in one of the Canadian provinces currently experiencing one. So it's not great. I mean, I'm still working, and I don't know how things are going for the rest of y'all, but it's so weird to go to my job and there's nobody else around. It's so strange. But on the plus side, one of the nice things I get to do is every so often sit back, relax, and record with these wonderful hosts so that I maintain some semblance of sanity and still be able to talk about gaming. It's wonderful. I love it. All right. With that being said, let's get into today's topic. I'm excited for this one. I think this is going to be fun and a little bit funny. So let's get to it. So when it comes to RPG gaming, the world setting itself is something that can have a huge impact on whether or not we're really going to enjoy ourselves. Some of these worlds you can just see yourself wanting to live in and be a part of and experience, and gaming can only take us so far with that. But there's also those that I wouldn't want to go live in or even just go anywhere near with a 60-foot pole. And it's both of these sentiments that we're going to be exploring this week. So with that in mind, fresh from the 2020 holiday vacation,
it's time for another good idea, bad idea.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Soundbite. All right. So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to share with you our picks for the best and worst RPG worlds that we would want to live in. So Mel has drawn the short straw. And as we all know, with our good idea, bad idea episodes, basically we're going to each do both the good and the bad before we move on to the next person. So you're going to start off with your good idea. Where would you want to spend the rest of your life?
Oh, God. Well, in a lot of these worlds, I think in most video game worlds, you wouldn't live that long, right? So
Sometimes.
I tried to pick a couple worlds that felt like they were kind of terrible, just because, I could pick Persona, because, who wouldn't want to live in Japan? But I decided to go with a couple of more terrifying worlds. So my good idea is the world from Fallout, from the Fallout series. So I'm a big fan of the post-apocalyptic genre in general. It might seem odd since it's full of super mutants and ghouls and stuff, but especially in New Vegas and Fallout 4, we get into one of my favorite themes of the genre, post-apocalyptic stuff, which is when people start rebuilding communities. So you do have obviously a lot of area that's dangerous and terrifying, but you also have these places like the Mojave and the Capital Wasteland where you can see people coming together, where you have communities working together, you have people starting businesses, you have clean water sources, like the kind of places where you can be part of building something new. And I've always really loved the idea of these small communities where people know each other and we're all working together, and it's something we don't have anymore. So I guess that's part of the fantasy for me, is the idea that maybe the outside areas are still deadly, but there's places that you can find and make a normal life for yourself as much as you can. So that's my good idea. I wouldn't mind that so much. I probably wouldn't do a lot of adventuring, but I hang out.
It's an interesting choice, I will admit. I mean, yeah, definitely not one of the ones I would have put on a good idea list myself. But at the same time, like talking about rebuilding that community, like I haven't had a community like that in my life since I was maybe between 5 and 10. The general neighborhood that I lived in, people all seemed to know each other. But then as people moved out, new people moved in, that was just kind of something that was disappearing as I grew up, just little by little. So it's interesting to see that where you're kind of rebuilding everything in that regard. So
Yeah, I mean, Fallout 4 has like full on the kind of base mechanic where you can like rebuild houses and set up beds and assign people roles of like growing food. So it really can give you the sense of that, and it has the cool mechanic too, where even as you're out exploring the world, you can get messages being like, "The city's under attack. Please come help." Just kind of fun. I don't know. It's just it speaks to me. It speaks to me.
yeah, awesome. That's great. All right. So where don't you want to live?
All right. This one I'm going to caveat because this is a game that I was scared more than like I think the world itself is more terrifying than a lot of games. But it's Dragon's Dogma, the first version of it, not the redone version that's better. But when I was playing this game for the first time, I was legitimately scared to leave the city walls at night or even be around at night. The game really builds up this sense that like you need to be in a city if it's nighttime, and you need to be on the roads at all times. And if you deviate even slightly, things will come for you and they will end you. And I just remember early on just like trying to scout out to find the next city and looking at the sky and trying to figure out, okay, do I have time to make it home? And hearing the animals coming closer and closer as I tried to find my way back. And there's just this, I think the complete opposite of my last one is there's this profound sense of loneliness in this game. And it's not just because of these like long areas between cities and like how terrifying nights are. It's also because one of the main mechanics in this game is you play with a party of pawns, and pawns are these like mindless automatons that fight with you and you borrow from other people. So even when you're in a safe area or even when you're waiting out the night, you are sort of alone. Like your party is there, but you're getting attacked or you're afraid and they have nothing. They're just completely empty inside. And I think that's part of that fear of being like alone in the dark, and not knowing what's out there. And obviously, giant chimeras and dragons aside, like it is a terrifying place. So I think that's the reason why it's isolating and lonely and terrifying. So I don't really want to live there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. By the way, have you watched the Dragon's Dogma series that came out on Netflix?
I have not.
Okay, no, neither have I. I was just wondering if you had, because I know this was one that you at least did talk about in the past and kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah, I probably should. I did enjoy, or I am enjoying the Castlevania show. So, we'll see. We'll see if it's as good as that one is.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, no, the concept like that is really interesting. Like when you can get that general like fear from the player in just that general atmosphere, that's something to be proud of, I think, especially when that's what you're going for.
Yeah, you've got this is the sort of thing that Xenoblade games do very well, like you go off the beaten path at your own peril, and there's There's an area in the first Xenoblade game that is considerably deadlier at night. So, so sometimes you're wandering around and you look around and go, "Oh shit! Turn back the clock! Turn back the clock! I am not supposed to be here right now."
Yeah, and like the worst is like when these games have like some kind of torch mechanic where you like start losing sight of where you're going and just slowly like no 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 no. They can do that fear stuff really well. I mean, considering it's not a horror game, I was pretty terrified.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the torch mechanic, I completely agree with. I mean, even in something as, but Darkest Dungeon had a really, really good sense that, like, if your torch went out, you was boned. And, oh man, I didn't play it much, but I remember it just like you wanted your torch lit all the time.
Yeah, you never wanted to run out of torches. I always carried extras. And even then I got stuck a couple of times trying to find my way out with very little light and, worried about those things that are in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, those are some interesting and, well, I mean, honestly, some surprising choices from, or at least for the good ideas. So no, awesome. I like your explanation for that. That was
Well,
really cool.
well, thank you. I wanted to do something kind of weird. I guess that's the mood I'm in now.
You know what? Like I love it. Like it's like I love these little surprises that just kind of come up when we talk about stuff, and it's great.
Yeah,
It
and
keeps me it keeps us all entertained, both the hosts and the listeners. I think that's awesome.
and I wonder how much some of this stuff has to do with the fact that we are so isolated right now. Like a year ago, would I have thought the worst place to live is somewhere completely isolated and lonely? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just really feeling the need for community right now.
Yeah, it could very well be. All right, so we're gonna move on. I am up next. So for my good idea, I have chosen somewhere I have just recently come back to in video game life, and that is Kamurocho from the Yakuza games. So this is similar to Mel's case. It's like why would you consider this a good idea? Like it's a red light district run by Yakuza. You got fights and murders in the streets, and you could just as easily be shaken down and or beaten by random thugs for all of your money. But you got to admit, it is one of the most colorful and eventful places that I've seen, not only in video games, but just in general. Like you'll never be bored. And quite honestly, I would make sure to be the most random Joe Schmo civilian while I'm out there so that I get less likely to get caught up in any type of criminal activity that goes on either in the shadows or just out on the streets. You got lots to do, and surprisingly enough, even it's for all ages. You've got arcades, internet cafes, bowling, batting cages, and at one point in the series there was a virtual reality arcade. Like it'd be no problem for me finding a job that I would actually enjoy and be able to have tons of fun with all of the stuff out there. Like this is the thing. Like Kamurocho, for those who don't know, is actually based on a real city in Japan called Kabukicho, and this is one of those places I would love to visit if I can get myself out there someday.
Yeah, it's packed with all sorts of interesting activities depending on when you're there, because the Yakuza games take place over such a long period of time.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, but and the city just continuously evolved over the course of it all, but it still made sure that pretty much anybody could go there to have a good time, and I think that's one of the things I loved about it. It never just became like a don't bring your kids here kind of place. it really just it made sure that all ages were welcome. Any money was welcome. Sure, that money's probably getting funneled into organized crime, but so what? You're getting something out of it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's where I want to live. Now, for my bad idea, the place I do not want to live is Sanctuary from the Diablo series. So I guess this kind of almost fits into like what Mel talked about for her bad idea as well. But I mean, Sanctuary is the name for the world of man in the Diablo games, and it is not a bright and cheery place. It almost feels like it's in perpetual night. Like I don't think I've ever seen daytime while I've been playing these games. You only leave the village when you absolutely have to because the place is littered with demons, monsters, the undead, and they come at you in hordes. It's not just one or two at a time. And it's kind of yeah, it's just so many. If you're not a skilled adventurer, then you basically stay put, essentially waiting to be killed by the many things that are going to happen, that are going to come and invade your village someday. It's a sense of hopelessness, and I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be an adventurer. I wouldn't want to be a citizen. Like honestly, if I ended up there, I'd probably just end it all. Like I could not.
That got dark.
Little bit, little bit, little bit. Yeah, yeah. But it just, I can't do it. I cannot.
Humans generally require light to be happy.
Yeah, yeah, and that it really does not seem to be a lot of light going on. So no thanks. I will. Yeah, I'll go live somewhere else. Thanks very much. Okay, we have only got one last set of places to live, and those are coming from Sky. So where do you want to live, Sky?
Well, my good idea is actually the world of Bat and Kaitos. So here's the thing. It is a strange and wondrous place. Uh, the world that Bat and Kaitos that the two games take place on. And all the humans have wings, and I like that idea. They're living on floating islands, which is kind of cool. And those islands are really interesting and beautiful places. Like, if there's any number of the places that would be fun to live on, like Mira, which is basically sliding in and out of different dimensions, I gathered. So they call it like the Island of Illusion, and it's really weird there. Like, for some reason, there's a town that's literally made of sweets. It's like Hansel and Gretel on steroids. Remember one town also looked like kind of like papercraft like. But the other islands are really nice too. For example, Sadal Sud would be quite nice for like if you wanted a more quiet rural life. It's quite peaceful there. They don't really get involved in politics so much, so they're generally just kind of left alone. Now, this world is, there's magic and it's seems to be fairly widely used, so that's nice. They have some tech as well, particularly if you live in Alfard. Now, Alfard, there's issues with Alfard. They have some imperialistic tendencies, let's put it that way, and very, very mildly. But aside from that, I mean, this world would actually be pretty pleasant to live in. There's all sorts of towns and cities of various sizes. There's, the different islands have their own cultures. Um, they have the Greythorns, which are this super cute creatures I believe I talked about in one of our episodes about mascots, I think. Anyway, Google gray thorns. They're silly and cute, and I love them. They kind of look like a Pokemon, to be honest. Um, so yeah, I think it would be a fun place to live in.
It certainly is an interesting touch. Like the concept of islands and continents in the sky. I mean, you get that right. You're getting that right now also from Skies of Arcadia because that's what you've been playing. And I don't know, like the concept of that is really cool. Like I like that idea overall. I mean, even though I'm absolutely utterly terrified of heights, like the concept in and of itself is really neat, and it's more likely that I wouldn't be afraid of it if I grew up in a world like that because you get acclimated to it so easily.
Well, true, and a lot of these islands are big enough where that if you didn't want to live anywhere near to the edge, there are options, you know?
Well, that too, of course, yeah. But just
Yeah.
just being able to travel, I mean, like I can do air travel pretty okay. I haven't done it a lot in my life, but if I need to, I don't think I have a problem with it. I guess for me, it's just as long as I have something solid to plant my feet on the ground of, I'm usually okay.
Well, yeah, that's just it. And it's a really interesting world because they've gone and they developed all these things about it, like the lore and significance of the wings that everyone has. There's a whole lot of symbolism that comes up, and the wings are more of an expression of the people's personalities or their souls, as opposed to actually useful wings. For example, you can't travel from island to island with them. They won't carry you that far, but you can do short distances. But, the integration of, magic and sort of technology on sort of steampunk kind of level is quite interesting in these games. You see it more in Batten Kaitos Origins, I think, but it can lead to some unexpected things in this world. And honestly, I like the fact that in this world, like nothing was off the table. Like they came at it with some. They developed this world with all kinds of different ideas, and it just gave it so much personality and color, and that's the kind of world I want to live in.
No, fair enough. Awesome. All right. So where don't you want to live?
Oh God. Well, really, this could have been like 90% of the games I've played easily. Um, a lot of game worlds are cool, but I wouldn't want to live in them. But one of the ones that came to mind immediately was the junkyard from the first Digital Devil Saga game. Being part of a post-apocalyptic cannibalistic gang war is not my cup of tea. I'm sorry. Like, as fun as the demon forms of the junkyard's inhabitants are, I wouldn't want to be one. I just wouldn't. The world is dark and depressing, and it's just ruins and like military bases, basically. Like it's not a place meant for a life of peace. And I can't say much more than that due to spoilers. If you haven't played these games, track them down. They're awesome. But let's leave it at this place is just depressing, and it's no wonder that everyone who lives there wants to leave. It's in fact the whole premise of the first game is getting the hell out of the junkyard. And there's you can just look at it and go, yeah, yeah, I see their point.
Well, I mean, part of why they wanted to leave was that they were told that something better existed. So, I mean, that just made the desire to leave that much greater in that particular instance. But it makes me wonder if they were never told that, would they just be content with where they were.
I don't think so. Like, it is a really dark and dismal place. And usually people will move on if they're very unhappy in a place or try to find something new. Like the whole, human need for exploration, like, is rooted in, I want to see what's out there. And if what you're living in is as dark and depressing as the junkyard, then they'd want to get out. I mean, like, really, none of, like, they were all basically just living in these military forts and fighting one another. Like, they didn't have any semblance of a normal life. And obviously there's a reason why that's the case, but I'm not going to say it. Play these games, listeners. Find these. They're great. And they're not that rare either. But yeah, I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't have just, started going out, trying to go out there and see if there was somewhere else that was better than their immediate surroundings. But they stayed put because they were told about, Nirvana and, that they could have a chance to go to a better place through this gang war, elimination fight.
And then we all know what their reward really was in the end. So that was totally worth it.
Oh yeah, totally worth it. That worked out so well.
Alrighty. So those are some of the best and worst places that we would want to live in an RPG. Where do you guys want to live? Where do you not want to live? Lots of options, and I'm sure you all can find tons of options on where not to live. That turned out to be the easiest part of this whole episode. But what about places you wanted to live? So let us know. You can do that a couple of ways. You can do that through our group email, which is xpbillionaires@gmail.com, or you can check us out on our social media. You can find me at billionairesxp on Twitter, and you can find me at Rafe Thegram on Instagram for all of my fun, fantastic Gunpla photos. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and SkyKnight.xp on Instagram.
And Mel, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Feminist Gamer on Instagram or Feminist Gamer 3 on Twitter, and you can also watch my game of D&D, which I GM, called Darkness and Dragons. It's on the Level Up Twitch TV channel, so check it out.
Awesome. And for all of our written content, including features, quickfire reviews, and some new stuff that's coming right around the corner, just keep watching our website at xpbillionaires.ca. You can also find the links in there in order to support us if you like what we're doing. If not, just share our episodes, and hopefully we can grow a community, have lots of fun here. All right, so that's going to be it for us this week. And just remember that the only way out of the bad world you're playing through is to keep gaming. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye-bye.